The Idries Shah Foundation podcast. Practical Psychology for Today. Featuring the works of Idries Shah, voiced by David Ault. Welcome to the Idries Shah Foundation podcast. In this edition of the podcast, we present excerpts from the Dermis Probe by Idries Shah. This audio has been made available by the Idries Shah Foundation. Full Circle. How did Odi Odam come to sit at the feet of the wise one, Dervish Rahim? He roused himself one day and thought, as the sun shone in his eyes, "It is more than time that I achieved something." So he looked around for ideas, and his eyes lighted upon a book in the corner of the room. It had been lying there for years, since his late father's time, but he had not paid much attention to it before. This should do for a start, he told himself, for has it not been laid down by the scholars that to do something is better than to do nothing at all? He picked up the book and carried it to the nearby town. In the marketplace, a man came up to him and said, "What special virtue has that book, and what price do you place upon it?" "Why," said Odi Odam, "it was my father's, and that surely means that it is of the greatest worth. Do you not respect the judgment of your own father?" "Of course," said the other man, and he gave Odi all that he had for the book. Odi next saw a man sitting beside a pile of feathers in the street. He had just plucked a fowl and sold it, and the feathers were left over. "What special virtue have your feathers, and what price do you place upon them?" asked Odi. The man was rather less than honest, and he said, "You can have them for all the money you have. As to their virtue, I may not tell you." There was a local law against making false claims about merchandise. Odi gave the man everything he had, and took the feathers, thinking, "If they have a secret value, there will be a way to discover it. The most important thing is possession, not information." He was remembering the advice of the tradition which says, "Information may not lead to possession, but possession may lead to information." But then he met a fool with an engaging manner, who said to him, "I wish I had feathers like them, then I might be able to become a bird, but I am poor." "Do you know about the secret virtue of feathers?" asked Odi. "No," said the fool, and he did not. "In that case," said Odi, "you will not have the advantage of me if I part with them. What can you trade, friend?" "What about this book, which a man just threw at me because I annoyed him?" said the fool. Odi saw that it was his father's book. He took it in exchange for the feathers, but he could not read, so he took it to the Dervish Rahim. Dervish Rahim said, "This book is called Never Wander About Exchanging One Thing for Another. If you do, you will be 1 in a million if you get a second chance to make a real start. Whoever is to be wise despises himself. Only the ignorant trust their own judgment." Proverb. The Insane. Ajnabi said, "The people of this world are insane." He promised his disciples to give them evidence of this. That same night he invited a rich man to break the fast with him. The man came, and they ate dry bread and a date apiece, which was all that Ajnabi had in the house. When he returned home, the rich man sent the Sufi a purse containing 10,000 dinars. Ajnabi sent it back with a note saying, "Bread can be eaten. Gold is not useful for anything. People only imagine that it is." Now he called a needy man and sent him to the rich man's house to ask for 10,000 dinars. When the man came back, Ajnabi said, "What did he say?" The needy man said, He told me that he would not give me anything. Then Ajnabi told his disciples, "The people of this world are assuredly insane. They think that gold is equal to bread, and even exchange one for the other. Then, when they see an honest and necessitous man, they imagine that it is in their own interests not to help him. If these people are sane, as they believe themselves to be, let us all hasten into what they would call insanity. Whoever has taught me one letter has made me his slave." Proverb. A group of Sufis. A group of Sufis, sent by their preceptor to live and work in a certain district, settled themselves in a house. In order to avoid undesirable attention, only the man in charge, the chief deputy, taught in public. The rest of the community outwardly assumed the functions of servants of the household. When the deputy died, the members of the community rearranged their functions, revealing themselves as advanced mystics, in accordance with their instructions from the original preceptor. But the inhabitants of the country not only shunned them as imitators, but actually said, "For shame! See how they have usurped and distributed the patrimony of the great teacher. Why, these miserable hirelings now even behave as if they were themselves Sufis." The tongue is the best masseur of furrowed brows. Anwar-e Suhaili. Salik on the road to Kandahar. Salik met a party of men on the highway to Kandahar. Salik was dressed like a tanner, and one of the party, who was greatly respected by them, was wearing the robe of a Sufi. Salik asked him, "What are you?" The man answered, "A Sufi." Salik immediately drew a long knife and advanced towards the man, who showed every sign of fear. "Why are you trembling?" asked Salik. "I fear you may kill me," said the other man. "Will you give me your money if I spare your life?" asked Salik. "Why, yes, indeed," said the other. Salik now addressed the rest of the party. "This man is no Sufi. He is afraid of death and will give money in return for life. A Sufi is one who cannot be manipulated by fear or desire." Make mankind your dwelling place. Hariri. Absent. The Sufi Master Halkavi was dared to go into the presence of a certain king and immediately say something negative, a mark of disrespect which would be likely to cost him his life. He accepted the challenge without any hesitation. As soon as he was shown into the throne room, the king, a capricious character, said, "Since you are reputed to be so clever, I order you, for my amusement, to say something which nobody who is present can ever say." Without the slightest pause, the Sufi said, "I am not in your presence." From the beginning. From the beginning, from the age of Adam to the time of kingship, from the powerful, pardon, from the poor, sins. Anwar-e Suhaili. Three Sufi Masters. A Sufi sage was sitting among his followers when a newcomer, accustomed to the ways of the court, entered and began to praise the teacher. The disciples listened attentively, and the man continued his compliments. In the meantime, a second sage entered, listened for a time, and then began to shout insults at the first master. The visitor withdrew in confusion, while the first master sat impassively until the second sage had left. A third Sufi master entered the company after some time, and one of the disciples made a sign indicating that he wished to ask a question. "The third master will answer it," said the first sage. Why was our teacher reviled by the second master, since both are of equal eminence, and our teacher is not worthy of such abuse? Asked the disciple. A visitor from the world was here, filling the air with false compliments, said the third master, and these were so beastly in their effect, if not their appearance, that it needed something equally beastly to drive them from the air. Death. If he is a good man, death will be a release. If he is a bad one, it will release others from him. Anwar-e-Suhaili. Secret knowledge. The Khalifa, or deputy, of a certain Sufi teacher, enlisted in the mystical exercises everyone whom he could find. Many who came to hear of this objected, saying, "Is it not repeatedly said by the Sufis that only those who can profit may have the exercises, for otherwise this is not Sufism?" He answered, "It is also said, the profit and loss are assessed at the end of the day's trade, not at the beginning." And he continued to recruit all and sundry. Every day he questioned the followers, asking them if they were serious and sincere. All swore that they were, but he found many disparities between their words and their actions. So he stopped talking to them at all, saying, "I cause you to sin if I ask you to aver something and you lie." Many of them left him in disgust, saying, "We are not hypocrites," though they were. He criticized those who remained, and many more started to drift away. Then he pretended to be mad, and quite a number of the remaining disciples abandoned him, the more charitable saying, "Oh, poor fellow, he would have been perfect had he not been insane." Now came the day when there were only 6 students left. One of them said, "I suppose that these are the ones who have passed the test, and who will now be taught by the master himself?" "No," said the deputy. "Unfortunately, only some of these are real disciples. The others are those who are so obsessed by the search for secret knowledge, are in fact so greedy for themselves, that they will do anything and endure anything. Before I present the final selection to our master, I shall have to expel those, or have them expel themselves." Branches. The barren branches may appear inelegant. They are, to the cook, the means to make his fire. Anwar-e-Suhaili. Provision and life. They have fixed our nutrition and arranged our lifespan. More than this, and ahead of this, efforts will not be productive. Anwar-e-Suhaili. This podcast is copyright 2016, the Idries Shah Foundation.